To understand how desire connects with planning, you have to understand how desire is created. Desire is created when something happens in your life that suddenly changes the way you see yourself in relationship to your future. We all have moments in our lives that are turning points, crossroads where something happens that can shape the direction of our future. Some of these turning points can be dramatic, and others may be subtle. I want to encourage you to be looking for these turning points and seeking out your purpose and passion as you engage in the planning, preparing, and expecting to win process. I vividly remember the exact day one of these turning points happened in my professional life. I was one of 12 children raised by a single, widowed mother in Yazoo City, Mississippi, during the Great Depression. We struggled and worked hard to make ends meet, and although we never had a lot of extra things, we always had what we needed. When I was a young boy, I worked around our little home doing chores, and when I was 9 I got a job at a grocery store in town. At that point in my life I saw myself as a little guy from a little town who would always live in Yazoo City. That type of thinking was the result of my experience growing up. I had no idea that other possibilities might exist for me. I entertained the idea of owning my own store, or meat market to be exact, but I never really felt over the top excited about it. I wasn't excited about it because it was not my vision. It was just an idea that was presented to me by my boss as a possibility. You might say I was a wandering generality instead of a meaningful specific. I was wandering around with no direction and no plan to win. After I grew up and married my beautiful redhead, Jean Abernathy, whom I call Sugar Baby, I got a job as a door-to-door salesman in the cookware industry. The first 2.5 years I sold a lot. I sold our furniture, our china and silver, the dog. Just kidding. But it was no joking matter that we struggled financially and were in hot water all the time. One cold, snowy morning I went to a meeting where Mr. P.C. Merrill, the divisional supervisor from Tennessee, took an interest in me. Mr. Merrill said, "Zig, you have the ability to be a great one." Frankly, I'd never heard words like that. As a child raised during the Depression, the emphasis was on survival, not being great. Now here was a man for whom I had the utmost respect, a man who was my hero, a man of integrity, and he was emphatic that he really believed I could be the best cookware salesman in the country. But he also had some constructive criticism. He said, "You know, Zig, I've been watching you for 2.5 years and I have never seen such a waste. Now, friends, that will get your attention." Somewhat startled, I asked what he meant. He explained, "You have a lot of ability. You could be a great one and maybe even become a national champion." Naturally, I was flattered, but a little skeptical, so I asked if he really meant it. He assured me, "Zig, there is no doubt in my mind if you really went to work on an organized schedule and started believing in yourself, you could go all the way to the top, Mr." Merrill's words gave me hope that I could change and caused me to believe for the first time in my life that maybe I did have more to offer than I'd ever realized. Looking back, Mr. Merrill's words helped me make the decisions that changed my life. I turned his words over and over in my mind and got more excited by the minute. On that day, for the first time in my life, I suddenly had a clear vision of a future I really wanted, and I also noticed that something else was building inside of me. It was desire. The desire to make it happen started to build. Mr. Merrill planted a seed when he told me I could be great at something, and I believed him. My vision of my future started to change immediately, and I wanted that new future. As my desire grew, I became sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wanted to change, and more important, I felt empowered to turn that new vision into reality. I took immediate action. You may be reading this book and thinking, "Zig, I don't have a Mr. Merrill in my life." Yes, you do. I am your Mr. Merrill. I honestly believe I have felt your feelings, I've walked in your shoes. You have made some mistakes, and you may not be where you want to be, but that has nothing to do with your future. I'll say it again and again. You can start from where you are with what you've got and go to where it is you want to go. Yes, you were literally born to win. My goal is to give you new hope in this game of life and turn that new hope into a brilliant new picture for your future. I want you to know that when you prepare yourself, you can expect success. Many decades have passed since Mr. Merrill's empowering words gave me a new vision for my life and the powerful desire to become what he said I could be. I see looking back that even though we may have a vision and a strong desire to attain it, seeing the end of it is not always possible. We can only see so far because our experience limits us. But I also learned that we should embrace the vision and fuel our desire. As we work with purpose and pursue our passion, we will be able to see farther, and when we get there we'll be able to see farther again. In my case, I first had a vision of becoming a national sales champion, and I accomplished that in a few short years. In the process of accomplishing that goal, I developed another vision that was even more powerful. I wanted to become a public speaker. That turned out pretty well, too.